What's new, crew? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name's Cassandra, and today we're tackling just a couple of super quick, easy kitchen projects. We're making granola, we're going to make some lemon poppy seed muffins, and then we're going to process a bunch of kale. Very early this morning when I was up with the baby, I went ahead and washed all of our kale, got that out drying, and that's been drying for a couple hours, and it'll be ready to be put in the dehydrator here very shortly. With that being said, we're gonna start with our granola that I actually already have in the oven. I'm about to pull that out, but let's go back to a little bit earlier and put that granola together. I'm gonna start off with this granola. I am back to being able to eat more dairy now that Cleo is getting a little bit bigger. She can handle the dairy. It's not bothering her before like it used to. So I'm gonna make a batch of granola because I have yogurt in the fridge that I really want to eat. So I'm gonna use this honey almond granola recipe. It's from Katie Bird Bakes on Pinterest. I'll have this linked down below for you guys. But it's a recipe that I have things for. I don't have a lot of coconut oil right now. I just completely spaced to get it during grocery shopping. So a lot of granola recipes call for coconut oil. This actually doesn't. So this is the oil, or this is the recipe that I'm gonna be using. It just calls for honey and like olive oil, which I have. So I definitely make mistakes, but once I went grocery shopping, I just completely missed over the coconut oil, which is okay, it happens. But the good part is I usually have enough stocked up of other things where I can find a recipe and make it work. So let's go ahead and get this together. Like I said, this recipe will be linked down below, and we can get this in the oven while we're waiting for our kale to kind of finish drying, and then we can pack that in the dehydrators and just kind of keep moving throughout the day. All of my big bowls are being preoccupied right now with leftovers in the fridge and like pasta salads and things, so I'm gonna use this Tupperware. Hopefully it'll be fine.
Nothing in sight, forever in flight. Follow those lines, we'll make it this time. Blurry street lights, work as a guide to memories that we're making tonight. Oh yeah, we'll make it tonight. Yeah, I'll do anything that I feel like I wanna do. I'm living life like I got nothing left to prove. No end in sight, just always staying on the move. I'll go all night if that's just...
Okay, this recipe calls for almonds. I don't have almonds, but I do have a ton of walnuts, so I'm just gonna crush some walnuts, put that in here, and then the recipe also calls for a 1/4 cup of coconut, which I do have as well.
Care about what you can't afford. Memories are in what you explore. So just don't be ignored. Go ask for more. Go ask for more. Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side. PCH, country limit. I don't need a guide. Follow lights. Take me where I wanna visit. Are you alive? I'll just breathe in. Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side. PCH.
Here is our beautiful granola. It smells fantastic. I'm very excited to give this a try. I think it's not as granola-y as I'm anticipating it to be, so I think what I'm actually gonna do is just give this a little bit of a stir and let this go back in the oven for a couple of minutes while we put together our lemon poppy seed muffins, and just give this a couple more minutes because it's just a little bit, it's not crunchy yet, you know what I mean? It doesn't have that granola texture. So we're gonna put this back in the oven and start with those muffins that I've been saying that I'm gonna make for weeks now, but we're actually gonna do it. I did not intend on making these so early in the month because lemons typically last a really long time, and I did buy fresh lemons for this recipe. However, the lemons I got in my grocery order from Walmart do not look great. In fact, one of them was actually molded. I did talk to Walmart. They ended up replacing, like giving me another bag on top of the bag they already gave me. But I want to use my lemons now that I have so many. So we're gonna go ahead and get these going. This is a muffin recipe. However, I don't actually want to make lemon muffins, lemon poppy seed muffins. What I'm actually gonna do is just make them in my like cake pan, 9x13 pan. That way I can cut them into bars, because bars fit better in my glass jars where we hold like our homemade snacks for the kids. Bars hold better, and bars actually also freeze a lot nicer in my freezer because they're flat. So I could take half of these, put them in there, and take half and put them in the freezer. Alrighty, so we're going to start with a 1 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour. Bars are also really nice because I'm trying to get all of this done during Cleo's morning nap. I started early this morning with her, but now I'm hoping to finish all of this stuff off while she naps. And bars are just a lot less like labor intensive because you just have to mix the batter and dump it in a pan and bake it. It's not like you have to individually put out the muffins. So what else do we need? Baking powder. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pull out all the things that we need out of the pantry and out of the fridge, get them all out on the counter, and then we'll come together and finish throwing all of the stuff. All right, so our flour is in here. I'm just gonna go ahead and throw in the rest of our dry ingredients, and then we'll give that a whiz and start mixing in our wet stuff. Okay, we need some baking powder. Throw in a little bit of that. Half a teaspoon of salt. And then we need 1 cup of sugar. I'm gonna go ahead and give this a mix and double check my recipe, make sure I'm not forgetting anything that's dry. Now I'm gonna start throwing in our wet stuff. I'm actually gonna start with my eggs. I have 2 eggs from the girls. I'm gonna crack them into a separate bowl before I throw them in the mixer because we're still kind of working through those eggs from when Joe and I had the flu and the kids were taking care of collecting eggs for us. So some of them are a little bit more not the greatest quality than others, but I think we made our way through them. 1 cup of sour cream before, but I love sour cream in any recipe, like cakes, muffins, anything like that. It just makes them so light and makes them really, really moist, but because you're putting extra moisture in it, they do tend to mold a little bit faster than other things. You just have to make sure that you're aware of it and you're watching your muffins, which is a really good way to just put half in my glass jars up here for the kids to eat throughout the week, and then I'll freeze the other half and I can pull them out, you know, next week, 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, whatever. Our kids are going back to school in a couple weeks already, so I'm gonna be doing some breakfast prep for the kids for back to school stuff. And I'm gonna give this a mix while I get our lemons ready to be put in here. So here are our lemons. Oh, it smells so bright and fresh. And I'm also gonna save these lemons and I'm gonna make some lemon vinegar spray for cleaning. So all of these lemons are gonna be used today. All right, so I'm going to, oh, this looks stunning. The like bright yellow color from the chicken eggs looks amazing. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and squeeze it in. I don't have a citrus squeezer or anything like that, so I'm just gonna use my hand. We're gonna give that a mix. I didn't actually measure 3 tablespoons. I'm just gonna grab a fresh spoon and kind of dip this in the batter and taste it for like lemoniness, I guess. I am gonna squeeze in the other half of this lemon. We're gonna give this another mix. This is where it gets tricky. The recipe calls for lemon zest, and I actually don't have like a zester or anything, but I was thinking that possibly I could use my cheese grater, which I mean is like the same thing as a zester, right? So I'm just gonna try it over here on my cutting board. Oh yeah, this is perfect. Okay, lovely. So I'm just gonna get a little bit of lemon zest here. Okay, maybe not as fantastic as a lemon zester would be, but that is okay. I guess a little is better than nothing in using what we have. I just don't use a lot of zest, so it doesn't make sense for me to have a zester because I just don't use it that often. Okay, I got a little bit. Okay, we'll mix that in, and then the last thing we have to add in this are actually just our poppy seeds. I got these from Walmart. It was actually really inexpensive. I think it was like under $2 for these poppy seeds. I was anticipating them to be a lot more expensive than that because I kind of figured it'd be more like a specialty ingredient. But so I was pleasantly surprised about that. This recipe calls for a tablespoon and a half. So I'm gonna throw those in. Oh, stunning. Look how beautiful that looks. It's not picking up on camera how actually beautiful this batter is. I'm just gonna go ahead and prep my pan and we're just gonna spray it. And this is why I usually make muffins as bars, because now all I have to do is dump it in. This is a huge reason why I usually make my muffins into bars. I'll just take any muffin recipe and throw it in a cake pan, a lasagna pan, whatever you have will work just fine. And it just makes it so much easier. Okay, so I'm just going to get these in here. I'm gonna throw it in the oven. My oven is still on. I did pull the granola out. There is a glaze the recipe has to put on these. So it is a glazed muffin recipe. I think I'm gonna skip the glaze today just because I think the muffins will hold better in my little glass jars here if they are unglazed. That way they're not sticking together or anything, because they are gonna be stacked in there. So I'm gonna skip that today. But maybe if I were bringing this to like a party or a barbecue or something, I would make it in this cake pan like this, and then I would glaze it over the top. That long. It is gonna bake a little bit longer than what the recipe says for, because it is in a cake pan versus in muffin tin. So you will have to take that into consideration. But the recipe says 375 for about 18 to 20 minutes. My oven is actually already preheated at 325 for the granola that was in there. I just left it there. I'm gonna be in the kitchen anyway, so I'm just gonna watch it. When it's done, I'll pull it out and it'll be completely fine. Now we're on to the last task of the day, which is actually processing this kale. So I'm gonna pause for a minute, get the kitchen cleaned up, and then we'll go on to processing the kale. I need to go get the dehydrator off of the storage shelf, break that bad boy out for the first time this season, and then we can get on to the first preservation project of the 2023 garden season. Just as a little bonus, I'm gonna share with you guys how I use my kitchen scraps to make my cleaning vinegars. So this is just normal vinegar. I'm just gonna dump this in my 1 gallon mason jar here. This is just what I have left right now. I do have another thing of vinegar, but I cannot open it for the life of me. So my husband gets home to help me open it. But I just take my kitchen scraps, plop them right in. You just cover it up, and I'll keep this underneath my kitchen sink. And I'll just add more kitchen scraps to it. I'll let this sit for about 2 weeks. You'll actually see the color start to change. Hang on, let me grab my... So this is the orange peels that we have. And then I'll just sift this and just put the vinegar in my cleaning bottles. And you can see the cleaning vinegar is actually like, you know, an orange color. It takes on that color. And then this is one that we made together over the holidays with scraps from some of my Christmas buckets with like pine and balsam and stuff. It smells like Christmas, but I've been waiting to use this. I haven't used it a lot because I want to break it out and use it closer to the holidays. But it smells fantastic, and the thing is, the longer you let it sit, the more it's gonna smell like whatever you put in here. I had intentions of taking lilacs and putting them in here and making a lilac spray over the spring, but it just didn't happen. The lilacs in my area only bloomed for like a week, and I just missed it. I didn't get any in the vinegar, which is okay. I can do it next year. But you could do this with anything. You could use it with roses, peonies, daisies, like literally whatever you want. Just let it sit. But you can see that this spray is more green. It takes on that green color. So I just let these sit under my kitchen sink, somewhere cool, somewhere dark, and let them kind of ferment. I'll keep adding to them. I'll add more vinegar, more scraps as I have them, and just kind of keep refreshing it that way. So I'm gonna get these put back underneath my sink, let these go, and then this is pretty much what I use exclusively to clean my house. I use these with literally everything, my windows, my mirrors. I still do use Windex on my mirrors mostly because I think it just works better than these on my mirrors personally. But I use these on my stainless steel appliances. I use this as an all-purpose spray, so like my counters, I use it to clean my fridge, like everything. It's fantastic and it's way cheaper than anything else. So let's get these put away. Alrighty. Here are our dehydrator trays. This is how we're going to be preserving our kale. I kind of decided that I want to make green powder to just dump in everything over the course of winter. For my family, I would personally eat the kale all day long. If it were whole and in stews or soups or eggs or anything like that. I throw this in my eggs all summer long, in scrambles, different things. I throw these in a lot of things. My family, not so much, but kale is still super good for you, and I take the time to grow it, so I want to use it. How my family will eat it, however, is if I dehydrate this stuff, put it in the blender, buzz it up, and make a powder out of it that I can hide in things, because it's not really going to add a lot of flavor, but it's going to add a lot of nutrients and good minerals and all the things that kale provides. So I'm just going to break these down into smaller pieces and lay them on my dehydrator. I'm breaking them into smaller pieces so that they wilt down, or they cook down, they dry down a little bit faster. If you're looking for a budget dehydrator, I really like this one. It's just the Gamekeepers brand. I got it from Walmart. They go on sale during every hunting season. So you're looking like October, November, in the fall time, they go on sale. I got mine on sale like really, really cheap. I want to say like 15, 20 bucks. I can't remember the exact price. Back in January, because they were trying to get rid of all the things that they had left over from hunting season. So that's a great time to pick these things up. But I'm just gonna line my dehydrator trays with these, get these on the dehydrator, and use these to kind of sneak greens into my family's meals. These work really well to put this green powder. I will put in literally everything. This year I do plan on bringing you guys along to show you guys how I make my spaghetti sauce, because I did that last year for the first time and I didn't want to film it just because I didn't really know what I was doing. But this year I do know what I'm doing and I loved it. But last year I put a ton of zucchini and a ton of extra squash from the garden, and I put that in my spaghetti sauce. And then when I blended it up, you can't tell it's there. There are little chunks of green and things from the squash. However, there's a lot of herbs in there. There's a lot of basil and oregano. So it really just, your eye doesn't even think twice to seeing some green flecks in your pasta sauce, because it just looks like spices. And it just added a ton of extra stuff to our spaghetti sauce. And that way, if we're using it to make pizza, because we used our spaghetti sauce and our pizza sauce interchangeably, even if the kids wanted to eat a plain cheese pizza, or my husband, or whatever, just meat, there was still a vegetable in there, because I put all that squash into the sauce and blended it up, and it was just kind of like hidden in there. And it's a great way to add all of that zucchini that becomes prolific in the garden throughout the season, and you use it. It also helped thicken the sauce and make it delicious. So lots of good things there. I'm just gonna load these trays really heavily, and I'll probably do this a couple times throughout the garden season. This dehydrator is gonna be going like crazy this year. I learned last year what I really like to dehydrate and what I don't. Dehydrated zucchini was one of our favorite things throughout the winter. I threw that in so many crock pot meals, just soups and stews and chowders and everything, and my family really had no idea it was even there. It was my favorite way to use that zucchini. First round, I definitely have more kale over there. I'm kind of debating if I should freeze it whole like that. That way I have it to throw in quiches or things, but I'm really thinking that if I freeze it, it's not gonna get used. So I really think that I'm just going to, I think what I'm gonna do is just get this batch of kale in the dehydrator. I'm going to check my Weston guide here for the gamekeepers. And I'm going to look in here for vegetables because they have guides in here for vegetables, fruits, and meats and things. And it'll tell you what temperature and for how long to dehydrate certain items. So I'm just going to look to see if they have kale in here or greens or anything like that, and just kind of do whatever it says. So they do not have kale on here, but they do have some herbs in here, so I'm just gonna follow for what it says for the herbs because I think that's the closest thing to anything that it has in here. This at 125 for 7 hours, and I'm gonna start checking it around 5 hours or so. And this is gonna be our first batch of kale. Now, when dehydrating, there are certain things you definitely do not want to dehydrate in your house because they stink really bad. I learned that the hard way the first time I used this dehydrator was actually to dehydrate onions, which was actually one of our favorite ways to use. That was another thing we loved the dehydrator for, was the onions. We loved to throw those in steaks in the cast iron. So fantastic. They were amazing. Loved them. But they stink super, super bad. The whole house smelled terrible. Our jackets or anything that was hanging like on our kitchen chairs where the dehydrator was, our jackets stunk. It was terrible. So there are some things you might want to dehydrate in your garage. For dehydrated kale before, I can't imagine that it would have a really pungent smell. So I'm just going to dehydrate it right up in my kitchen, get this going, and kind of figure out what I'm going to do with the rest of that kale that we washed up, because we've still got a bunch over there that just isn't going to fit in here this go around. Now that the dehydrator is going, I'm just going to grab another clean plastic bag to put the rest of the kale in. Before I do that, I should probably check our muffins here. Ooh, they look fantastic. It smells so good in here between the granola and the lemon bars. So the rest of the kale is here. I had to push it aside to fit the dehydrator. Sorry, the dehydrator is right under you, so you can probably hear that. But I'm just going to take the rest of this kale and I'm gonna put this in the fridge, and then once the round that's in the dehydrator is done, I'll move the dehydrated stuff into the blender. We're gonna blend it up, and I'll put that in a mason jar and just use that as a green powder to put either in smoothies or in recipes and eggs, whatever, over the course of the next year. And then we will put this kale into the dehydrator and do the exact same thing with that. So this is the first preservation project of the season underway, which feels great. Oh, this is going to go in the fridge, and maybe I'll use this to throw in a salad for dinner. I'm actually gonna make a pasta dish for dinner tonight, so I might make a side salad to go with that, with like some hard-boiled eggs and some kale. I have romaine in the fridge. We could do that with some tomatoes maybe. That actually sounds really good, so we might do that. Very last thing, because Cleo is still sleeping, which is great, I'm actually going to just take this time to unload my dishwasher, because I haven't done that yet this morning. Get our dishes from this morning in the dishwasher, get the kitchen reset, and then all of my projects that I really wanted to get done today are going to be done, and it is it's only 10:30, so that leaves me time to go down and putz in the garden, to hang out with the kids, to do whatever, maybe go fishing later today. Here is our beautiful granola. It did get more chunky and kind of crispy, which is exactly what I wanted. I cannot wait to have a bowl of this for lunch, or with lunch. Oh, that's good. The coconut becomes toasted, obviously, because we baked it, but it gives it this really nice, subtle, like sweet, nutty flavor almost. And I'm loving the walnuts in here. I think shaved almonds would be delicious, or I could definitely see myself trying that, but the walnuts were really good too. And I have a lot of walnuts on my food storage, so this is awesome, a great application. I'm actually just gonna put this in a gallon Ziploc bag and put it in my pantry and eat this kind of throughout the next probably 2 weeks or so. And I think what would also be really good, I was thinking, is putting a handful of raisins or a handful of cranberries or something in your bowl. You could also throw in chocolate chips or something like that. So I'm gonna save our additives and keep them separate. That way, if I want raisins or cranberries, I can throw them in my bowl. If my kids want chocolate chips, we can throw chocolate chips in their bowl and keep this plain, if that makes sense. That way everybody can get something else. I think what would also be really good is come fall time, throwing in like dehydrated apples or pears or something like that. That would be delicious. So this is really good. Here are our lemon poppy seed bars. They look fantastic. They smell delicious. I just pulled these out right as little miss here woke up from her nap. So I got everything done, plus the dishes loaded into the dishwasher, all kind of within an hour or so of her napping, which feels fantastic. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I hope that you guys are having a fantastic day wherever you are. And of course, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.